Stories come as stories go. Listen to the words and help them grow. It matters not if the stories are true, only what they mean to you. 'Cause stories come and stories flow. Listen to the words and away we go. Now, I usually like for my audience to help me out with my chant. No, I can't hear you, but when you do it for me anyway, I'll give you the call and you just respond, okay? Stories come and stories go. Listen to the words and help them grow. It matters not what they mean to me, only what your hearts can see. Our stories come and stories flow. Listen to the words and away we go. Shall we go on a little trip? Are your seatbelts fastened? Buckle up now. I don't want you to fall off any stories. Before I tell you my first story, I have a couple of questions. One, how many of you like butterflies? Lots of you. Let me tell you, when I was maybe just a little bit older than you, there was nothing I loved more than seeing butterflies fluttering around in our backyards. Sometimes I'd go over to other people's houses, and if they had flowers, there'd be butterflies fluttering around the flowers. I loved that. And I've gone to Callaway Gardens many times. But one of my most memorable trips was when I got to go to a place they called the Day Butterfly Center. And I had a chance to go in that dome, see-through building and just see the butterflies fluttering around my head. That was maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but the memory is just as fresh as it happened yesterday. So what I like to do now is tell you a story that I wrote particularly and especially for this program called Butterflies in the Garden. It features a little boy named Brian and his mother and his father. And what happens in the story is Brian's mother was pushing his stroller through the park when a yellow and black butterfly fluttered and landed right on his stroller. Brian looked at that butterfly and smiled. He held out his hand, and the butterfly landed in his hand. Brian started moving that butterfly towards his mouth when his mother shooed it away. She said, "Brian, you can't do that." He said, Mommy, butterfly." "Yes," she said, "that was a beautiful butterfly, but you can't put it in your mouth." Brian said, "Mommy, I know that." Well, they continued their walk through the park, and they came to a bench, and there was a flower garden nearby. They sat down, the mother sat down and took Brian out of his stroller and read him a story. And then after that, she put him back into the stroller. And Brian said, Mommy. She let Brian out of the stroller, and Brian started walking over near the flowers. And all the butterflies in the flowers fluttered away. Brian ran towards them. She says, "Brian, come back." She brought Brian back, put him into the stroller, and they sat in the park a short while longer. And then they headed towards home. As they was headed towards home, a yellow and orange and pink and green butterfly floated all around Brian's stroller. When they got to the house, the butterflies had followed them all the way home. Brian's mother looked up at the butterflies and said, "Brian, look at your friends." And Brian looked at the butterflies and waved goodbye. The next day, after hearing about Brian's interaction with the butterflies, his father purchased a butterfly mobile with many, probably 10 or 12 beautiful butterflies just fluttering on strings. He attached it to Brian's crib while he was asleep. And when Brian opened his eyes, he looked up and saw all those beautiful butterflies. He said, "Butterfly!" He giggled, then he shook the mobile, causing the butterflies to flutter all over him. He giggled louder and louder. When they stopped shaking, he reached up and pulled it harder. The mobile fell down on him, and Brian got tangled up in that mobile. Well, he started crying. His father and his mother ran quickly to see what was the matter. His father picked him up, saying, "It's going to be okay, Brian. Everything's okay." His mother untangled that mobile and attached it firmly to his crib. His father laid Brian back into the crib, and Brian just looked up and smiled. A few days later, Brian and his parents went to the Butterfly Center. Now, for my young ones out there, that's a place, usually a very beautiful see-through space, where they have flowers and vines and a whole lot of butterflies. And they went to this Butterfly Center. They parked, paid their admission, and found their way to the path leading to the Butterfly Center. As they approached the Rainbow Center, they saw flowers of every hue. Large vines covered the ceiling. Leafy vines covered the ceiling. They walked in and they went towards the flower, and hundreds of butterflies flew up out of the flowers and flew away. Some gathered around Brian and his parents. "My friends," Brian giggled. He was so excited, his father lifted him from the stroller. A butterfly landed on his father's shoulder. Brian said, "He likes you, Daddy. Will you be his friend?" His father said, "Of course. Your friend is my friend." And they found a bench, and they allowed Brian to walk closer to the flowers. Brian looked into the flowers and saw a caterpillar. He picked up that caterpillar and brought it over to his parents and said, "Look, a worm." His mother said, "No, Brian, that's a baby butterfly. You have to put it back." "Baby butterfly?" he asked. "Yes, dear. That's a baby butterfly. You have to put it back." "No butterfly. It can't fly. No wings. Butterflies have wings." "Not when they're baby," his father said. Looking around, his father saw a cocoon attached to a vine leaf. He said, "Brian, this is going to be a butterfly." Brian said, "Hi, Daddy. Worm. How's it going to be a butterfly?" His father said, "With just a little time. That's all." Brian said, "Can we wait until it becomes a butterfly?" His father said, "Not today, son. We have to leave soon." "Can we take it home and watch it become a butterfly?" "I'm afraid not," his father said, "but let me show you something." His father reached into his pocket. He reached into his pocket and he pulled out his phone. And he found a video of a butterfly coming to be. And Brian said, "Another worm. It's eating the leaf, Daddy. Did it go to sleep? Oh, look, Mommy, it's moving. A butterfly. How did my friend get into the phone, Daddy?" His dad said, "Call it butterfly magic." "Are you ready to go home?" he asked. Brian said, "Okay, Daddy, let's go." where they left the beautiful butterfly dome, stopped by the gift shop, and headed home. On the way home, Brian went to sleep wearing a t-shirt that was covered with butterflies, and his imagination filled with other fly friends. Thank you for listening. Help me close it out. Stories come and stories go. Listen to the words and help them grow. It matters not what they mean to me, only what your hearts can see. 'Cause stories come and stories flow. Listen to the words and away we go. Thank you.